introduction. Right. So Anurag is a best-selling author, awarded as winning coach and founder of Superhuman in You. And this particular word I found so interesting that, in future, I also decided to name one of my book as Superhuman in You. This name itself attracts so much of energy. He helps entrepreneurs and business leaders to achieve their impossible goals by reducing overwhelm, anxiety, and overthinking, and improving their focus, clarity, and energy. He's seen the bad days and good days, and he's really proud of himself. He's gone from being homeless to owning 4 successful business in 6 years. Hailing from the Nawab city of India, Lucknow, currently he is in UK. Let us put our hands together and welcome this young gentleman to share his wisdom in this platform today. Anurag, good evening and welcome to Brainciti.
Thank you, Nayana. Good evening, everyone. Yes, thank you for the introduction. Am I okay to share my screen now, yeah?
Yes, you may. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, it's good. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so hello again, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about how to become a better player in the game of life without stress, overwhelm, and anxiety. Basically, the superhuman way of achieving your goals. So first, let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Anurag. I'm an entrepreneur, coach, and best-selling author. In the past few years, I went from being homeless to finishing an accounting qualification in a record time, to writing and publishing my first book, to owning 4 successful businesses. I now help clients to unleash their inner genius and create an extraordinary life. My clients include business leaders, police officers, athletes, and entrepreneurs. And I've worked with leaders from one of the top companies around the world, such as KPMG, Police Scotland, HMRC. And I would be lying if I told you that it was an easy ride, but it was an exciting one. The one thing that I learned is the importance of investing in ourselves. I read over 100 books, attended over 40 trainings, and worked with different coaches to help understand how the human mind and body works and how we can live our true potential. What I believe is that most people struggle because they are trying to control their life. Life is like a game. And it's just like playing any other game. You cannot change the rules of the game. You cannot change the external environment of the game. And you also cannot control how other players are going to play their game. But one thing that you can control is that you can become a better player. So I've got a good news and a bad news. So the good news first is becoming a better player is simple. And it's just about this one thing, whether you are using your mind or are being used by it. And the bad news is there's no mind manual, and our mind is not user-friendly, as we all know. So how to become a better player? I'm going to share today 6 rules with you that I've found have helped me and my clients to get ahead in life without the anxiety, overwhelm, or stress, and live a happy and successful life. The rule number 1 is you are not your brain. You have a brain, just like you have hands, you have legs, you also have a brain. And when we separate ourselves from our brain, that's when we get more control of how to manage it, because you cannot manage your brain using your brain. So let me do an experiment with you. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you're holding a big lemon. Now, I want you to imagine that you are cutting this lemon into half. Now, visualize that you're taking this lemon closer to your mouth. Imagine what it smells like, and then squeeze this lemon into your mouth. Now you can open your eyes. If you're like me and most other people, you would have noticed that as you squeeze the lemon into your mouth, there was some saliva building up. And this saliva is there to neutralize the acid in the lemon juice. But there is no lemon juice. And this tells a very powerful thing about our brain, that our brain does not understand the difference between reality and our thinking. But there is something else that this tells as well, that we are not our brain, because we knew that there is no lemon juice, yet the brain chose to respond as if there was lemon juice. So if we were our brain, there should not be any saliva in our mouth. And when we understand that we are separate from our brain, this gives us power and capacity to manage it better. So the key takeaways for this rule are, we are not our brain, we have a brain. Just like we have our hand, our legs, we have a brain. And our brain does not understand the difference between reality and our thinking. Rule number 2 is, there are 3 parts of mind. We have a conscious mind, we have a subconscious mind, and we have an emotional brain. A conscious mind, so this is who you are. Use this mind for conscious thinking and conscious action. So what I like to say is, everything that you want to be, you already are. It's just the distractions around you that is preventing you to be that person. The second part is emotional brain. This is the part of the brain that works by the laws of the jungle. So action, reaction. If somebody did bad to me, I want to do bad to that person. If somebody shouted at me, I want to shout back. It's like a child, and it needs management. It is very powerful. So our emotions are very powerful, energy in motion. But again, we need to manage our emotions in order to give that power a direction. And the third part of our mind is our subconscious mind. As we feed information to our brain over time, this information gets stored for future use. Our subconscious mind is responsible for habits and automatic responses. It's very powerful, but it takes time to be reprogrammed. And one of the ways it gets easier to reprogram your subconscious mind is when our brain is operating at a lower frequency. And that's why meditation is so powerful, because when we are meditating, our brain goes into a lower frequency, and then whatever we want to feed into our mind, we have a direct connection with our subconscious mind. And that's why most of our habits are learned when we are kids. So kids are such a good learner, because between the age of up to the age of 7 years, our brain is usually operating at theta levels. And that's the level which is most efficient when you're trying to build these beliefs or trying to program your subconscious mind. Rule number 3 is, our brain is very powerful. So if you heard about the placebo effect, you would know that anything that we believe tends to become a reality. So I want to talk about a control study. A group of 180 arthritis patients were to undergo a knee surgery as part of this study. They were divided into 2 groups. One group went through the full surgery procedure, while the other group did not. However, the doctors made it look like that both groups went through same surgery procedures. And the result, after a few months, when the patients were re-examined, both the groups were cured. And there's a number of experiments similar to this that have been performed, which prove that the power of a brain is something beyond our comprehension. But when we know that our brain is so powerful, we can watch what our beliefs are and whether they are helping or hindering our way to success. We'll talk a bit more about beliefs and how to reprogram them later on. Rule number 4, our brain does not understand the word no. So if I ask you to not think of a red car, the first thing you will think of is a red car. But what if I asked you to think of a white car? As soon as you start thinking of the white car, you're no longer thinking of the red car. And that is another powerful concept, that our brain cannot hold two thoughts at the same time. And we can use this quality of our brain. So whenever you're having a negative thought in your head and it's on repetition, instead of saying that, okay, I need to stop thinking about it, try and change that thought to something else. The key takeaways for this rule are: try and watch the images that you're creating in your brain. Do not try to control the images. Try changing them. And ask yourself this question: what's the worst that could happen? If you're worried about a situation, ask yourself this question: what's the worst that could happen? And then ask, what's the best thing about it? Because what you're doing here is the story or the image that you have in your mind about that worst situation, you are changing it to maybe another possibility. Rule number 5 is understand the difference between motivation and commitment. So most people get confused between motivation, willpower, commitment. If I ask you to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and go to gym, you probably need motivation for that. But if you heard your child crying at 5 a.m., you would not need motivation or willpower to get up and look after the child. And the reason for that is because you're committed for that child's well-being. If you could use the same level of commitment for anything you want done in your life, you would never have to rely on motivation. Because the problem with motivation is it's like a ripple in the water. You throw a stone, the ripple starts, but after some time, the ripple will stop. And in order to keep your brain motivated, if you wanted to use commitment and motivation together, in order to keep your brain motivated, what you need to do is you need to keep on throwing the stones. Or in other words, take conscious effort every morning when you wake up to motivate your brain. You could do this by using affirmations. So saying that everything that you want to be, you already are. Now, affirmations, some people don't use affirmations the way they should be used, and they become delusional. It's like delusional positive thinking. So the example that I like to use is, suppose you have garden and you have weeds in it, and you go out every morning and say, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds. The weeds are not going to disappear. But what you need to do, this is how affirmations can be effective. Affirmations can be effective for motivating your brain and shifting your identity. So let's say you wanted to become an artist. So there's 2 ways of becoming an artist. One way is you sit down with a pen and paper and think of, okay, I need to learn how to paint. I need to buy these colors, all these things. Yeah. So you do a lot of planning, and then it gets overwhelming that, okay, I don't know if I could become an artist. But another way of becoming an artist is you shift your identity and you say, okay, I am an artist, maybe a crap one at the moment, but I'll get better at it. What that does is, once you start looking yourself as an artist, that's what you do. You don't need to put an effort in it. You are an artist already. And an artist, what an artist does is an artist paints or whatever thing that is special to him. You don't need to put an extra effort. Rule number 6 is, our brain is not designed to make us successful. It is designed to keep us safe. So if you notice, if you left the brain on its own, it will constantly look out for problems. And the reason for that is we were designed to live in jungle. And in jungle, in order to stay safe, we had to be on constant watch. We had to look out for, okay, where the problem is. But the problem today is we are not living in jungle anymore. But our brain is still trying to constantly look for problems. The problem with this approach is that when we are constantly looking for problems, we miss the opportunities. And we live an unhappy life because we feel that everything in our life is going wrong. So what I suggest is you develop an attitude for gratitude. to get success and happiness in life. And a quote from Gandhi, which I like, is, "I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet." So this is the attitude you want to have when you're doing your gratitude list every morning, or when you're sitting down and thinking about your daily gratitude, is, what are the things that I have in my life which I don't appreciate? And when you do that, you break that pattern of brain of constantly seeking problems, and you start looking for things that are good in your life. And what that does is it trains your brain to start looking for good things, or in other words, opportunities. So here's a bonus tip I have for you, and that is to understand the difference between survival and creation. So think about it this way: how likely are you to win a game if you're only playing in defense? If you haven't heard this before, I would like to share this story with you. So there was this woodcutter who was cutting wood, and a passerby went past. And the passerby asked the woodcutter, "Why don't you take some time and sharpen your saw? Because I can see your saw is really blunt and it's taking you too long to cut the wood." And the woodcutter replied, "Oh, I'm too busy. I need to cut a lot of wood." But the thing is, what the woodcutter did not realize, that if he only took some time out to sharpen his saw, he would be able to cut the wood more quickly and more efficiently. In other words, he would be able to cut more wood in less time. So the question that I have for you is, do you invest regularly to upgrade your mental, physical, and energy state? Because anything in life which is not growing, it is dying. Nothing in nature that is alive ever stays the same. It's either growing or dying. And same is true for our mind, body, and energy. If we are not taking conscious effort every day to grow it, it does not stay the same. It goes down. So that's all. I wanted to keep it short and simple so that I have some time to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Anurag. I missed the last sentences after the woodcutter story. Was there something in gap? I think I missed it, or I don't know about others.
Yeah, I can. So yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, so basically, I wanted to ask everybody this question: that do you have any ritual in your life at the moment, a morning ritual, which you do every day to start your day on the front foot, to invest some time to upgrade your mental, physical, and energy state? Because the law of nature, how it works is, if you look at anything, trees, flowers, plants, it's either growing or dying. So if you're not investing time and effort to grow our mind, body, and energy, it will not stay the same.
Thank you so much, Anurag. That was a beautiful analogy about the plant. Either it's growing or it's dying. Ouch. Okay. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. And yes, in a very nutshell format, I would say. So let us open the question and answer. Before that, please put it in the chat box if you really have some kind of a ritual. Let's answer this question for Anurag. Or is there any problem, or not problem actually, is there any challenges that you face when sticking to the rituals? How are you training your brain? You can also unmute yourself or raise your hand. Is the slides over? Do you have anything else left?
No, that's the final slide. But I would love to answer some questions if somebody else.
Yeah, so then we can just stop the slide.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Is there any hand raised, or is there any feedback? Yes. Good evening, Guna sir. Okay, very few people on camera there. Yes. Yes, Bhatia ji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Rituals for ritual's sake should not be there. Actually, rituals are supposed to be designed for or the aim what we had in our mind and what we want to achieve. That is a path on which you have to progress. And accordingly, it has to be very, very problem specific or a personal specific. Some of the general rituals, yes, discipline, this and that, and all those things, commitment, all those things are definitely required. And no doubt about that. But added on to that, certain verticals have to be there, which you form as a ritual so that it becomes a habit for you and you move on that. That is very important. And what Anurag has brought a beautiful at the end is that if you are living, then you must be growing. If you are not growing, you are as good as dead.
Yes, absolutely true, Bhatyaji.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Anurag, a few of the members out here are our 5 a.m. members. So I'm sure now you understood that we follow these rituals of gratitude writing, goals writing, affirmations, meditation, and stretching. Stretching and both exercise for your mental and the physical well-being. So thank you so much, Bhatyaji. Also, he's a mastermind member for 50X and a trainer. Yes, Mallika ma'am, yes. 5 a.m. is one of the rituals what we practice here. Anybody else has any questions? If not,
yes, Naina ji.
Yeah,
and
okay.
in fact, yes, told very beautifully, if you are not growing, that means you are dying. Something that's a simple takeaway from this entire lecture. Because most of the time, people I see, they are not willing to grow. That is the biggest problem with them. And even I was thinking, am I growing or not? Really, really wonderful takeaway. This is simple. The entire lecture, you have the lost word, lost sentence. If you are, naturally, all the plants are growing, all the tree, everything is growing. But why are not we? That's really amazing, amazing, amazing. That simple thought. Jen say they say it's a small wisdom, a small word that will create some spark. Really amazing, Anurag, right? Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Gunashekar ji, I just want to add what you said. I think what you mean, I have understood. That's why I'm saying that. See, we may think that we want to grow. We may have the willingness or desire, but that remains as a dream until you put it into action. See, one thing is that you are only wishing to grow. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to, let us say, happy and other thing. It is all in the path of growing only. But if you're not working for the growth, just like the tree is growing it wants to grow everything, but it does not get a right environment and water, seeding, everything is not given to that, it will not grow. So only desire, only wish is just a dream. It has to be active, have the action. That's what probably Anurag is also meaning, and you are also at the back of your, when you made this statement, that is also there.
My point is, even we are not willing to grow. That is the main issue.
No, that is already, I mean, you are decided, you are decided that you want to die. Jinda manna chahte hain. That's a different thing. अपने पैर के ऊपर खुद कुल्हाड़ी मारने की बात है.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bhatyaji and Gunaji, for participation. Let us ask with Anurag that what is that one thing which triggered him to take this decision? What was that, we say in a hero's journey, there is a Kensho moment, there is a Satori moment. So what is that one thing which, if you're okay to share, that you decided enough is enough? I'm not going to leave the... I want to leave an extraordinary, I don't want to use any negative words here, because my brain doesn't understand what is red, what is white. So what is that extraordinary thing which came in your mind? And
yeah, so I think it was, it's not just one event. There have been few defining events. So I came to UK in 2005 with 100 pounds and a bag full of 4 clothes only. And from there, I had plenty of experience creating, losing, creating, and losing again. So there was one point when I was running my own restaurant. This is when I talk about homeless. So I'm going to share that story with you. So after I came here, I was I started working with different restaurants and I was quite successful. I was working a senior manager position. So I started to open my own restaurant here. But within a week, one event after the other led me in a place because I was still on visa. So I had no access to public funds and all that. So within a week, something happened, few things happened, like I had a theft in the restaurant, a lot of other things. I won't go in details, but at the start of the week, I was planning, okay, where should I buy my next restaurant? And by the end of the week, I did not have enough money to pay rent. So I had to move into the storeroom of my restaurant. And they found some problems in the restaurant, in the wiring. So they cut the electricity supply. So basically, in the month of November, where it was like -3, I think, outside, I was sitting in this room with no heating or electricity, next to a bag of rice and some spices on the floor with some bin bags full of my clothes. And I was thinking to myself, why me? Why did it happen to me? Like, I have never done anything wrong. People talk about good karma and bad karma. I've always done good karma. Why did it happen to me? And then, as if all of a sudden, and I talk about this incident in my next book, as if a voice from inside me said, why not you? There are people in some places of the world, like their 4-year kids who are dying. They have not done anything wrong. Then why not you? So it's not about what happens to us, but what we do about what happens to us. So I think I like to use this analogy of video game. The harder the lever, the better the opportunity to become better player. So sometimes we have to look at life in that way. And that was so if you're talking about turning point, that was one of the key turning points when I decided, okay, so that's when my definition of karma changed. So before I used to think that, okay, I do good karma, good things happen to me. But now what I believe is that the benefit or the outcome of good karma is the act of karma itself. So the feeling that you get while doing that good karma is a benefit of that good karma. And from that point onwards, I stopped controlling my life and started creating it. Whenever something happened, I was like, okay, what will be my next move? Rather than thinking why it happened, what can I do about it?
Right. Thank you so much, Anurag. And tell me one thing, how your family had to play a role here. I'm sure there will be push from the family which said, chuck everything and come back. So did it happen with you?
Yeah, so my family did not know because when I came to UK, I came here against my family as well. So I didn't want to share with them my failure stories. so I was determined to make it work. And so I did not share my difficulties which I experienced. Also because I knew that there will be only 2 responses. One, they will get worried. And second, they will ask me to come back. Both of those were not favorable for me.
Yeah, probably that is one of the reasons, because you had not only to prove yourself, but you also had people to prove them that. So sometimes when you have this naysayers, it's a good thing, because then you have something to prove to themselves. Then the commitment increases. Then the motivation comes automatically, probably. That's how it plays a game. So the mind is very strange, isn't it? The more I learn about mind, I feel the mind is very strange and very silly. So, of course, we have learned everything, and we know that we have to set the purpose of life. The mind has to be trained, but still sometimes, things go out of our hand. I mean, so in such case, I have team members who come back and say, there are family issues, there's health issues. So how do you have that one motivation? I mean, do you have anything to say that what you need to do? I mean, we know the information, we know this is how to be done, but then we go back the next day, we don't wake up at 5 a.m. What happens then?
Yes. So I think something that I do with my coaching clients is the very first session, is I get them to write as who they are. Because if I identify myself as a person who's very conscious about his fitness, then going to gym becomes natural for me. So in life, there's nothing hard or easy. It's what is normal and not normal. Somebody who considers themselves as fitness freak, that's their identity. It wouldn't be hard for them to go to gym. But somebody who thinks that, okay, I need to lose weight, so I need to go gym. So you see that talk that we're going to doing. So another thing that I suggest people do is change your vocabulary when you're talking to yourself. So instead of saying, I need to do this, say, I choose to do this. Because that gives you empowerment. One is making you feel as if you need to do something. And obviously there's no motivation in needing to do something. But when you're saying you choose to do something, then that's what's empowering. Another thing as well, which I've found based on what you ask, is when something happens, people tend to take it, okay, like they feel as if they have to start again. I made a mistake, and so I didn't wake up 5 a.m. today, so that means everything before is gone. But in reality, it's not like that. If we took things moment by moment, what we did yesterday doesn't matter. What we'll do tomorrow doesn't matter. What we're doing now, that's all that is.
Right. Affirmations is something which you also practice every day, but most often that also doesn't work. And how to reach out to people and tell them this is how you need to think. This is how the affirmations work. I have three challenges. I have young generation, then I have people who are very busy working, earning money, and then we have 50X, who for some reason it's very, very difficult to convince, because what I understand is if they agree how the life is, they'll be like, we have seen life more than what you have seen. So you have to handle three questions now. How we will handle affirmations to three generations.
Yeah. So the way I work with my clients is I don't teach them anything new. I don't teach them anything which they don't know. I just remind them what they already know. So affirmation, you don't have to be like, if you believe that affirmations don't work. So we all have I heard this story from somewhere. We all have two wolves in our mind, a good wolf and a bad wolf. And the wolf that wins is the wolf we feed more. And that's what affirmation is all about, feeding the right wolf.
Absolutely. Let me just stop the live now, because we will have further questions, but that will be benefited for people who are in the forum right now. So let me just stop live. Well, I can't see this.